How to structure an introduction to a literary argumentative essay. There are many ways to write an introduction to a literary argumentative essay. First, let's review all the different components that you might include in your introduction. There's the hook, the thesis statement, a summary, and the organizing statement. The hook. It's a way to get your audience's attention. A hook may be a descriptive passage, a question, or a famous quotation. The hook must be connected to the main idea that you will explore in your essay. For an essay on the nature of evil, the hook might be, are you a force for good or evil? Most people are likely to imagine themselves as a force for good, like heroes serving justice. For an essay on the complexities of love, the hook might be, Shakespeare once wrote, "The course of true love never did run smooth." The hook never refers to specific information from the story. It does not mention any characters or events. Also, a hook is optional. It is not required for a 5-paragraph analysis. Still, including a hook is a good idea because it eases your reader into your essay's subject matter. Next we have the summary. The summary is a short overview of the story under analysis. It is usually 1 or 2 sentences that introduce the main plot points without giving away the ending. Here's a summary of the film Saving Private Ryan from RottenTomatoes.com. Captain John Miller takes his men behind enemy lines to find Private James Ryan. Surrounded by the brutal realities of war, each man embarks upon a personal journey and discovers their own strength to triumph over an uncertain future with honor, decency, and courage. And here's a summary of the film Alien, again from RottenTomatoes.com. The crew of the commercial starship Nostromo is awakened from their cryosleep capsules halfway through their journey home to investigate a distress call from an alien vessel. The terror begins when the crew encounters a nest of eggs inside the alien ship. A summary always refers to specific information from the story. It mentions characters and key events. Like a hook, a summary is optional. Still, including a summary is not a bad idea. The thesis statement. It identifies the topic of your essay. It expresses the main idea as straightforwardly as possible. Here are some examples. The author writes about the gradual process of growing up and how childhood is valuable in shaping one's own identity. The story is about how positive father-son relationships are maintained over a lifetime. The best thesis statements are original and inventive, revealing a pattern in the text that was hidden and shedding new light on the story. A thesis statement can be imagined as the moral of the story, a lesson, a general philosophical statement, or an interpretation or claim. It never refers to specific information from the story. It does not mention any characters or events. Also, a thesis is obligatory. You must include it in your introduction to inform your reader of the focus of your essay. An organizing statement outlines the structure and three main supporting ideas of the essay. It can be a single sentence or 3 sentences, each introducing one of the 3 main supporting ideas. Here's an example of an organizing statement in 1 sentence. Jillian, the protagonist, surprises herself by discovering her own capacity for evil. The mafia is a constant source of trouble and threat in the story. And Marlowe, Jillian's son, becomes impatient and stubborn during an incident at college, revealing that this good-natured boy also has a dark side. And here's an example of an organizing statement in 3 sentences. First, Jillian, the protagonist, surprises herself by discovering her own capacity for evil. Second, the mafia is a constant source of trouble and threat in the story. Third, Marlowe, Jillian's son, becomes impatient and stubborn during an incident at college, revealing that this good-natured boy also has a dark side. The organizing statement can also include literary devices. The author characterizes Jillian as a difficult and neurotic individual. Various metaphors illustrate Jillian's mental state. Also, the author uses lightning to symbolize Jillian's devastating realization of her own capacity for evil. The organizing statement can also include a mix of ideas and devices. The author characterizes Jillian as a difficult and neurotic individual. Various metaphors illustrate Jillian's mental state. And finally, the reader learns about the importance of trying to adapt to one's surroundings. If you do not include literary devices in your organizing statement, be sure to write an additional sentence after the organizing statement, as follows. The author makes use of poetic language, including metaphors and similes, throughout the story. The story includes a powerful example of foreshadowing and symbolism. Finally, the organizing statement always refers to specific information from the story. And it is obligatory. Here's a table to summarize some key points we've covered so far. Consider all the ways we could structure an introduction. We might begin with a hook, moving on to a summary, followed by the thesis statement and the organizing statement. Or we might discard the hook and simply begin with a summary, followed by a thesis statement and organizing statement. There are lots of ways you can structure an introduction. One last thing. Where do we mention the title of the story under analysis and the author's name? It depends how you structure your introduction. The highlighted sections of the examples show where we would introduce the author's name and title of the story. That's it. Now you know all the different ways you can structure an introductory paragraph to a literary argumentative essay.